They told you mistakes are something to hide, something to erase before anyone sees them. But what if everything you've been taught about them is wrong? What if the very thing you've been apologizing for is the strongest proof that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are daring in a world that rewards standing still? Tonight, I want you to lean into a different truth, one that may unsettle you at first, but just might set you free. Courage does not arrive clean and perfect. It leaves traces, and we call those traces mistakes. Mistakes are not failures. They are footprints of courage, pressed into the soil of every life that dares to move forward. Think about it. No one leaves a mark by standing still. The ground remains untouched by those who choose safety over possibility. It is only when you step, when you risk, when you lean into the uncertainty of becoming, that you leave something behind. And yes, sometimes those steps are uneven, sometimes they falter, but they are yours, and they are proof that you chose movement over fear. We have been taught to fear mistakes as if they are stains on our worth, as if they announce to the world that we are not enough. But the truth is far more generous than that. A mistake does not diminish you, it reveals you. It shows that you reached beyond what was comfortable, that you attempted something that required effort, faith, and a willingness to be seen in your imperfection. That is not weakness, that is bravery in its most honest form. Consider for a moment the people who seem untouched by error, who appear flawless from a distance. Look closer, and you may find not perfection, but hesitation. A life carefully managed to avoid risk may look polished, but it often lacks the depth that comes from lived experience. Growth does not come from getting everything right. It comes from engaging fully, from trying even when the outcome is uncertain. Your mistakes are not interruptions in your journey. They are part of the path itself. There is a quiet strength in learning to stand beside your missteps instead of running from them. Each one carries a lesson, a direction, a subtle nudge toward a wiser version of yourself. When you stop seeing mistakes as endings and begin to see them as teachers, something shifts within you. Fear loosens its grip, and in its place comes a steady kind of confidence, the kind that is not shaken by imperfection because it understands that imperfection is part of the process. So when you look back at your life, do not focus only on where you stumbled. Look at how far you have come because you kept going. Those footprints you left behind, uneven, scattered, sometimes heavy, tell a story of courage. They say you did not wait for certainty. They say you did not demand perfection before beginning. They say you showed up again and again, even when it was hard. And that is something no failure can ever take away. Every misstep is proof you dared to move forward, and in a world that often celebrates the illusion of perfection, that kind of daring is rare. It is easy to admire success when it is polished and complete, but what we often overlook is the messy, uncertain path that led there. The late nights filled with doubt, the decisions that did not go as planned, the moments when everything seemed to fall apart. Those are the spaces where real growth begins. A misstep is not the end of your story. It is the evidence that you had the courage to write one in the first place. There is something deeply human about getting it wrong. It means you cared enough to try, to invest your energy, your hope, your belief into something that mattered to you. And when it didn't unfold the way you imagined, it left behind a mark, not of failure, but of effort. Too often, we rush to erase these marks, to hide them as if they diminish our worth. But the truth is they add texture to your journey. They give it depth, honesty, and meaning. Without them, your story would be incomplete, untouched by the very experiences that shape resilience. You cannot discover new paths by walking only where the ground is certain. Every step into the unknown carries the risk of stumbling, but it also carries the possibility of becoming something more. Each misstep teaches you something that success alone never could. It sharpens your awareness, strengthens your resolve, and invites you to try again, not as the same person, but as someone wiser. In this way, What feels like a setback becomes a quiet preparation for what is ahead. And yes, there will be moments when your missteps feel heavy, when the weight of them makes you question whether you should continue at all. In those moments, it is important to remember that standing still will not protect you from regret. The only way forward is through, and every imperfect step you take is still a step away from where you once were. Progress does not demand perfection, it asks only for persistence. So do not measure yourself by how often you fall short. Measure yourself by how often you rise, how often you choose to keep moving, even when the path is unclear. Your missteps do not define your limits. They reveal your willingness to go beyond them. They are quiet declarations that you refuse to let fear decide your direction. And when you begin to see it this way, something shifts. What once felt like failure starts to feel like movement. What once felt like weakness begins to look like strength. You realize that every misstep you have taken is not something to regret, but something to respect, because it proves without a doubt that you dared to move forward. The brave dare to try, the fearful only judge. And if you listen closely, you can hear the difference in how they move through life. The brave step forward with uncertainty in their hands, knowing full well that things may not go as planned. They do not wait for perfect conditions or guaranteed outcomes. They understand that growth asks for participation, not perfection. So they try, even when their voice shakes, even when doubt lingers, even when the road ahead offers no clear promise. The fearful, on the other hand, often remain still, watching from a distance. It is safer there, where nothing is risked and nothing is lost. From that distance, judgment becomes easy. It is simple to point out flaws when you are not the one taking the step. It is easy to criticize a path you have never had the courage to walk. But judgment has never built anything meaningful. It has never shaped a dream, never strengthened a soul, never carried anyone closer to who they are meant to become. There is a quiet strength in choosing to be among those who try. It means accepting that you will not always get it right, that there will be moments of discomfort, of miscalculation, of visible imperfection. But those moments are alive with possibility. They stretch you, they teach you, they invite you to rise with greater awareness. The brave do not avoid mistakes. They understand that mistakes are part of the cost of becoming. And perhaps the hardest part is continuing to try in a world that is quick to judge. Voices will rise, opinions will form, and not all of them will be kind. But you must learn not to build your identity from the echoes of those who never stepped into the arena. Their judgment is not rooted in your journey. It is rooted in their distance from it. And distance cannot understand what it has never experienced. When you choose to try, you are choosing a life that is rich with learning, even if it is also marked by missteps. You are choosing depth over appearance, truth over approval. There is dignity in that choice, even when it feels difficult. Because at the end of the day, it is not the opinions of those who watch that will define your life. It is the courage you showed by stepping forward again and again. So let them judge if they must. Let them speak from the safety of stillness. You have something far more valuable than their approval. You have the experience of having tried. You have the quiet knowledge that you did not let fear decide your limits. And that knowledge carries a strength that no criticism can diminish. In the end, it is always the ones who dared who carry the story forward, not because they were flawless, but because they were willing to risk, willing to fail, willing to rise. And that willingness, more than anything else, is what sets the brave apart. Each error is a step closer to wisdom, though we rarely see it that way in the moment. When we stumble, when we miscalculate, when our plans unravel in ways we did not expect, it feels heavy, it feels harsh, it feels like a judgment on who we are. And yet, if we pause, if we breathe, if we allow ourselves the space to reflect, we begin to notice something remarkable. Every misstep carries a lesson that no success alone could ever teach. It whispers truths we might have ignored. It shines a light on paths we would have overlooked, and it gives us a chance to see ourselves in ways that comfort never could. Wisdom grows quietly in the soil of our errors, and every error leaves a seed behind. We often fear mistakes because they are loud, visible, undeniable. They expose us, they challenge us, they make us confront our limits. But the very fact that we notice them, that we wrestle with them, that we feel their weight, is proof that we are awake, alive, and willing to engage. To make an error is to participate fully in life, to step onto its stage without waiting for an invitation or perfect timing. Wisdom does not come to those who sit safely on the sidelines. It comes to those who move, who risk, who dare, and who reflect. Every mistake is a compass pointing toward growth, toward understanding, toward a deeper knowledge of who we are and what we are capable of becoming. The beauty of error is that it is never wasted. Even when it leaves us bruised, even when it humbles us, even when it feels like failure, it teaches. Perhaps it teaches patience, perhaps it teaches courage, perhaps it teaches humility. It teaches us that life is not linear, that progress is not a straight path, and that the greatest insight often comes after the moments we least expected. Each error shapes the character, molds the resolve, and strengthens the spirit in ways that comfort and certainty never could. And over time, when we look back, we see the tapestry that our errors have woven, an intricate, resilient, and uniquely human story of learning, rising, and trying again. We must also remember that wisdom is not simply knowing the right answer, it is understanding the journey that led to it. Errors are the steps on that journey, guiding us through trial and reflection. They ask us to question, to rethink, to observe more closely, and to act with more care. Without them, our understanding would be shallow, our perspective narrow, and our lives less rich. Each error brings with it an invitation to see life with a wider lens, to grow not just in skill, but in empathy, in insight, in the quiet strength that comes from embracing imperfection as part of the process. So, when the weight of a mistake presses down on you, do not shrink from it. Do not wish it away. Lean into it. Listen to it. Learn from it. Each error is not a roadblock, it is a stepping stone, leading you closer to wisdom, closer to depth, closer to a life that is fully lived. And in time, you will look back and realize that those moments you thought would break, you were the very moments that built you, shaped you, and carried you toward the clarity and understanding you hold today. Your scars are evidence of movement, not weakness. Every line, every mark, every imperfection tells a story of a life that refused to remain still. They are proof that you have walked through storms, that you have taken risks, that you have dared to rise when others might have stayed down. Scars are not reminders of defeat, they are reminders of persistence, of the courage it took to continue despite the pain, despite the fear, despite the moments when giving up seemed easier. They are silent witnesses to the fact that you did not stop moving, even when the path was uncertain. It is easy to look at our scars and wish they were not there, to wish that our journey had been smoother, that our steps had been flawless. But those who bear no marks are often those who have not moved far from safety. True growth comes from stepping into the unknown, from testing your limits, from risking failure, and yes, from collecting scars along the way. Each one is a record of effort, a symbol of bravery, a testament to the fact that you lived fully rather than cautiously. They show the world, and perhaps even more importantly yourself, that you dared to exist in a way that mattered. Scars also teach us humility. They remind us that life is neither simple nor predictable, and that we cannot control everything. We cannot always prevent pain, failure, or disappointment, but we can choose how to respond. We can choose to move forward with grace, to learn from what has happened, and to honor our own journey instead of wishing it were different. In this way, scars are not just evidence of movement, they are evidence of resilience. They carry the story of how you absorbed the world's blows and continued to stand, to walk, to reach towards something greater. There is beauty in acknowledging your scars, in recognizing them not as flaws, but as proof of effort. They are the history of your courage, the map of your determination, the evidence that you did not shrink from life's challenges. To deny them is to deny the fullness of your journey. To hide them is to hide the story of your persistence. But to own them, to see them clearly and accept them, is to embrace a truth that few understand, that living fully, daring greatly, and moving forward will leave marks, and those marks are sacred. And finally, your scars invite compassion, both for yourself and for others. When you see your own marks as evidence of movement, you can begin to see the struggles of others with gentleness. Everyone carries scars, whether visible or hidden, and each one is a testament to courage, not weakness. By honoring your own, you learn to honor the courage of those around you. Scars connect us to the shared human experience of trial and triumph, of persistence and growth. They are the language of resilience, the proof that we are moving, learning, and becoming, no matter how imperfectly the path may unfold. In every scar, there is a story worth telling, a victory worth recognizing, and a truth worth embracing. You are alive, you are moving, and you are not weak. Falling is part of the rhythm of rising, and yet we rarely hear it spoken this way. We are taught to fear it, to resist it, to see it as a sign that we are weak or unworthy. But falling is not the opposite of progress, it is a vital part of it. Each time we stumble, each time we lose our balance or miss a step, the world is offering us an invitation. It is reminding us that movement is never a straight line, that growth is never seamless, and that every rise we celebrate is made possible because we were willing to fall. Without falling, we would not know the strength it takes to stand, the resilience it takes to continue, or the joy of truly rising after struggle. When we fall, we are often tempted to stay down, to let fear tell us that we are not enough, that we have failed. And yet, falling does not define us. It is only a moment, a breath, a pause in the dance of life. The rhythm of rising requires this pause. It is in falling that we gain clarity. It is in falling that we see the missteps we might otherwise ignore. It is in falling that we feel the power of our own persistence. Each fall carries with it a lesson, a reflection, a chance to rise more skillfully, more consciously, and with more courage than before. The rhythm of rising is not just about physical action, it is about the spirit. It is about refusing to allow a setback to silence your voice, to slow your steps, or to dim your light. Life will bring moments that challenge your strength, shake your confidence, and test your faith. These moments are unavoidable. What is optional, however, is how we respond. We can rise with grace, we can rise with determination, we can rise with the knowledge that each fall has prepared us for this moment. Every stumble adds depth to our resilience, teaches patience, and strengthens our understanding that true success is never without its trials. Falling also teaches humility. It reminds us that no one moves through life without encountering challenges. It reminds us that even the strongest, the most capable, the most determined individuals have moments of imbalance. When we fall, we see ourselves more clearly, not as perfect beings, but as human beings, learning and evolving. And this clarity allows us to rise with authenticity. We rise not pretending we never fell, but proud that we had the courage to fall and to continue anyway. So do not fear falling. Embrace it. Let it be part of your rhythm, part of your story, part of your rise. Every time you stumble, every time you falter, remember that the fall is preparing you for the lift. Each fall is a teacher, a sculptor of character, a reminder that persistence is the measure of true courage. Rising is not defined by the absence of falling. It is defined by the willingness to rise again and again with every fall that life places before you. And in this rhythm, this sacred dance of falling and rising, you discover the strength, resilience, and grace that carry you forward, no matter what the journey demands. Each error is a step closer to wisdom, though it rarely feels that way when we are in the middle of it. In the moment, an error can feel like a failure, a wrong turn, a crack in our foundation. It can make us question our choices, our ability, even our worth. And yet, if we take a breath and look more closely, we can begin to see it differently. Each mistake is not a wall blocking our path. It is a guidepost pointing us toward understanding, toward insight, toward a deeper knowledge of ourselves and the world around us. Wisdom does not arrive without missteps. It is forged in them, molded through trial, reflection, and the courage to try again. When we make an error, we are forced to pay attention in ways that comfort and success cannot demand. Errors illuminate the gaps in our understanding, the assumptions we may have carried, the blind spots we might have ignored. They call us to think, to analyze, to grow. They ask us to slow down and to consider what we had not noticed before. Without errors, we might continue along a path of illusion, thinking we are moving forward, when in truth we have not learned the lessons that only mistakes can teach. Each error gives us an opportunity to pause, reflect, and redirect our energy in ways that bring us closer to truth. There is also a humility that comes with embracing error, to acknowledge that we are not perfect, that we will falter, that we cannot foresee every outcome. This is not weakness. It is humanity. It is the soil from which wisdom grows. When we accept our errors, we open ourselves to learning, and in that openness lies growth. We begin to see that each misstep has value, that even in failure there is a gift, and that the discomfort we feel is the same energy that sharpens our judgment and strengthens our character. Errors remind us that life is not about flawless execution. It is about engagement, participation, and the willingness to learn. Errors also teach resilience. They show us that setbacks are temporary, that we can recover, adjust, and continue moving forward. When we encounter failure, we are challenged to find new strategies, to approach situations with creativity, to adapt in ways that would not have been necessary without the stumble. Each error strengthens our capacity to endure, to reflect, and to persevere. It is through repeated engagement with mistakes that we develop patience, insight, and the ability to see beyond the immediate discomfort to the lessons hidden within. Finally, each error is a reminder that life is a journey, not a straight line. It is a winding path filled with learning, adjustment, and discovery. The missteps we encounter are not detours to be avoided. They are the very moments that lead us closer to wisdom. They are the stepping stones that shape our understanding, refine our perspective, and guide us toward greater clarity. To fear error is to fear growth. To embrace error is to honor the process of becoming. And in that embrace, we find the profound truth. Wisdom is never born in perfection. It is born in the courage to step, to stumble, and to rise wiser with every step we take. Mistakes shape character more than easy victories ever could, and yet we often fail to see the beauty in that truth. Easy victories may bring applause, but they rarely demand reflection. They do not test the depths of patience, resilience, or humility. They are fleeting moments of triumph that can inflate the ego without ever strengthening the spirit. But a mistake is a teacher in disguise. It challenges you, humbles you, and forces you to confront your limits. It demands that you engage honestly with yourself and the choices you have made. In that confrontation, character is forged layer by layer until it becomes resilient, wise, and unshakable. When we face mistakes, we are confronted with our imperfections. These moments can be uncomfortable, even painful, because they strip away pretense and expose the truth. They reveal where we acted from fear, where pride influenced our decisions, and where our assumptions fell short. And yet, these are the very moments that shape who we are. For it is not in the victories where we are tested, but in the errors that challenge us to rise, to adjust, to persist. The person who has only succeeded without struggle has not been refined in the same way. Character grows in the tension between what we intend and what actually occurs, in the space where our plans collide with reality, and in the courage we muster to continue despite setbacks. Mistakes also teach empathy. When we have stumbled, we understand the struggles of others more deeply. We realize that no one moves through life without challenges, and that judgment is easy from a distance but rare in experience. Character is shaped not only by the personal lessons we learn, but by the compassion that grows as we recognize the shared human experience of error. Our own mistakes remind us that the path is rarely straight, and they allow us to extend patience, understanding, and kindness to those navigating their own missteps. It is also in mistakes that creativity and resilience are born. A misstep forces us to reconsider, to think differently, to problem solve in ways that easy victories could never demand. When we encounter obstacles, we are invited to explore new perspectives, experiment with approaches we might never have considered, and find solutions that reveal resourcefulness we did not know we possessed. Character is shaped in this iterative process of trial, failure, reflection, and adjustment. It is in this continuous engagement with imperfection that our inner strength is cultivated, and our capacity to face future challenges grows exponentially. Finally, mistakes shape our understanding of success. They teach us that success is not defined by perfection or by flawless execution, but by persistence, courage, and growth. They remind us that a life without error is shallow, and that the richness of character comes from the willingness to risk, to stumble, and to continue regardless. Easy victories may bring pride, but mistakes build the foundation of integrity, resilience, and wisdom. They are the forge in which our character is tempered, and those who embrace them fully learn that the true measure of a person is not in what they never miss, but in how they rise after every miss, every error, and every challenge that tests their resolve. Your journey is not defined by errors, but by your decision to continue. Life will always present moments when you falter, when plans unravel, when the outcomes are not what you hoped for. These moments are inevitable. They are the weight of living fully, of daring greatly, of stepping into uncertainty with courage. And yet, it is not the error itself that defines who you are or the path you are on. It is what you do after, how you respond, and the choice you make to rise and keep moving forward. That decision, every single time you take it, is the true measure of your strength and character. Continuing after a setback is an act of bravery that is often quiet, unnoticed, and deeply personal. No one cheers for the small decisions to get up, to try again, to adjust your approach, to breathe and move forward. Yet, these are the moments that shape the contours of your life more than any visible triumph ever could. When you choose to continue, you are refusing to allow a single stumble to define your story. You are taking ownership of your journey, acknowledging the missteps without letting them become the final word. Every time you rise, you are proving that resilience, persistence, and courage outweigh fear and doubt. The power of continuing lies in its consistency. Life will not always offer an easy path or immediate reward. You will encounter days when progress seems invisible, when challenges pile up, and when your own mistakes feel heavier than they have any right to be. And still, you move. You push forward, step by step, choice by choice, with a determination that refuses to let setbacks dictate your destiny. It is in this persistence that your journey unfolds, not in flawless execution, not in avoidance of error, but in the commitment to continue despite everything that tries to stop you. Continuing after failure also teaches humility and perspective. It reminds you that your journey is your own, shaped by your choices, your efforts, and your willingness to engage with life fully. It reminds you that mistakes are not punishments. They are lessons, signposts, and sometimes even guides to new possibilities you could not have imagined if you had never stumbled. When you view errors through this lens, the act of continuing becomes transformative. It is no longer merely an effort to regain what was lost. It is a conscious embrace of growth, of learning, and of becoming stronger through experience. And in the end, the decision to continue creates a momentum that defines your journey far more than any single mistake ever could. Life is not measured by the times you fell. It is measured by the courage to rise, to walk forward, and to keep striving toward your goals with resilience and grace. Each decision to continue compounds upon the last, shaping your character, your story, and your legacy. The true beauty of this journey is that it is yours to define, not by the errors you make along the way, but by the courage, persistence, and unwavering determination with which you choose to continue step after step, day after day, toward the life you are meant to live.